All right, continuing to tell you the news that directly affects you. The White House is highlighting better than expected inflation numbers today. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that the July inflation rate held steady at 2.7%, just below the 2.8% economists had predicted. And the stock market responded positively to this news. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy prices, increased, however, slightly, driven mainly by higher costs for services. Overall, inflation has remained stable, averaging 1.9% annually over the first 6 months of the year. Energy prices declined again in July, while shelter inflation fell to its lowest level since October of 2021. Wage growth continues to outpace inflation, with real wages rising 1.3% compared to last year. Small business optimism also reached a 5-month high. To help explain these developments is Tony Drake, CFP with Drake and Associates, and he joins me once again right now. Tony, good to have you back. So what factors do you see as cooling inflation right now?
Well, we're seeing a number of factors that are cooling. And when you listen to Bassett, he's looking for this 333 target coming in at 2.7, one of the maybe the only points we have a little bit of room to even give some on the inflation standpoint. But when you look at goods, services inflation, that's staying a little bit sticky. And I think that's a piece that the Fed is really looking at closely, because services are driven by wages and labor costs, which don't come down nearly as quickly as some of those other areas. So we're seeing it today, right? If we're watching the markets interpreting this as evidence that the Fed's going to be close to, no more rate hikes. That's what everybody's looking for. But let's be clear, close to done is not the same as done. We know that Powell's been really conservative here, maybe too conservative, and the risk is still there that if inflation flares up again, they'll have to tighten further. So we're kind of in this market where a soft landing narrative is still intact, but it's a little bit fragile. Think of it like landing a jet in maybe a crosswind. One gust can really knock you off course, but certainly some good news today.
Right. And, some prices are still rising, though, like you mentioned, for services. And we're talking about like medical care, personal care, travel, to name a few. Elaborate more on why that is.
I think what we're seeing there is some of these areas traditionally just have a tendency to slow, they come back down a little bit slower. And that's what we're really seeing in services. That's so driven by wages. Labor costs remain high, having a hard time still filling some of those positions, which is causing that labor cost to stay high. I think we will see those areas come down, but they're going to be lagging behind some of these other areas that we're looking at. But again, Feds are watching those areas, so we have to be careful on assuming what's going to happen. I think for investors, you don't want to reposition your portfolio dramatically on a single inflation print. You really want to see a pattern over a couple months before making any sector rotations or adjusting any risk exposure. So short-term data can be misleading, but we really want to confirm that with some longer-term trends.
Got it. Good advice for investors. Small business optimism also reached a 5-month high. That's great. What drove that?
I think we're seeing a lot of great things in the big, beautiful bill, right? Yeah. I mean, we're seeing some of that bonus recapture, that 20% QBI deduction right off the top. Some of those things that were designed to help spur businesses and business growth, we're seeing come back. So I think you had a lot of CEOs, small business owners that were maybe on the sidelines wanting to maybe hire some labor or do some new purchases. Just kind of a wait and see. Now these tax code has given them some permission to make some of those moves, and I think we're seeing that reflected in this report.
Yeah, for sure. The 20% small business deduction made permanent huge. How close, you mentioned this slightly at the beginning, but how close do you think we really are for the Fed making an interest rate cut finally? I mean, the president's been pushing the chair to do it for so long now. Is it finally going to happen next month?
I think so. I think the signs are there. I think this data is some of what we needed. Again, barring something major changing, I think we should finally see probably around a 25 basis point cut there. I think they're going to take it conservative. Lots of arguments, right? We know when we think back to the beginning of COVID, really late to the game, all this business about transitory inflation, right? And really missed the mark and started reacting late. I think there's an argument to be made that we're also reacting late here on this end of it, but hopefully they have what they need. Lots of pressure from the White House and President Trump himself. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't get politicized here and they make the right financial decisions.
Absolutely. Tony Drake, Drake and Associates, appreciate your insight and advice today, as always.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.